Hey folks, welcome to the channel. In today's build, I'm making a dagger called Nosferatu. Stay tuned and you'll see why. Of course, we're going to be making this with damascus. Here I've got 25 layers. I'm going to draw this out to a really long bar, and then we're going to make a basket weave. Now that the layers are all forge welded together, I knock in the corners a little bit. I want to give it a little movement just so it's not plain straight layers. I've got it back to a square bar. Now I'm just drawing it out. I'm going to want to cut this up into 4 and 4-way it because that's how we get our basket weave. I'm actually forging 2 stacks of damascus for this project because I'm making twice as much as I need because I'm giving my buddy Jared half. So I'm only showing you one of those bars being forged. Now I'm forge welding that 4-way stack together, drawing that out, and we're going to end up restacking that again. We almost have this bar where we want it. Then we're going to be cutting this up, restacking it, and splitting it down the center. So here we've got our 2 bars of basket weave. So there's on the ends here. On the ends, we've got them going this way in the 4 quadrants here. And I've just marked on each of these, because I'm going to be cutting these, on this section, the lines go this way. Because I need to make sure we arrange them, and I don't want to have to cut them and then etch every single one of these. So we're just marking them. Now we're going to take these to the bandsaw, cut them up in 1.5-inch slices, and then you'll see how I'm going to arrange them. So unfortunately, I lost the footage of doing the split and forging it back together. So that sucks. But yeah, that's already done. I've also cut this in 2 because half this is for Jared. And we did a little test etch here. And you can see what it looks like. I think it looks pretty cool. So now we're going to fire up the forge and draw these out. The first thing I'm trying to do is close up those fish lips at the front. I don't want to grind that off because I'll lose a bunch of steel. So I'm trying to seal it up. I'm successful at closing up the fish lips, so now I'm just drawing it out into something I can make a dagger out of. So a quick round on the rolling mill. This will let me draw it out without getting any width, just length. And it gives you a constant thickness, so really great tool. And my buddy Jared helps me out as well. Now I'm back at the press to put in the tang and the ricasso. Here I'm using the press like a vise because I need to straighten out the tang. It's a little crooked, so that's what I'm doing here. One final run at the rolling mill just to make sure our thickness is even all the way down the dagger, and we're ready to go. So here's the blade after grinding. It is, it's about 13 inches long. I did grind this and do a little test etch and just mark the center. And if I do this, you'll see that the end just does a little jog this way. So I'm just going to heat it up with the induction forge, bend the tip over, and then just grind what I need to grind off, because I want to make sure that the center line is down the center. Alright, so I got the tip all straightened out, drew a center line here, and I have a template that's just half a dagger that I'll just flip over and draw my pattern on it, and then we'll get the profile all straightened out. So I've drawn some layout lines on the dagger, and we're going to start some grinding. So right here there's going to be some cutouts, little crescents on either side, and then hollows here and here. It's pretty thick. It's just under a 1/4 inch thick, but that's because we want a pretty high central ridge for the hollows. All right, let's get to grinding. Now I'm starting the hollow grinds, and this is actually the first time I've ever done hollow grinds on a knife. And here I'm using a 10-inch wheel. So there's the pre-heat treat grinding. Not too bad for my very first hollow grind. It's not perfect, but it's just pre-heat treat. Alright, let's get this in the oven and do some heat treatment on it. Sorry folks, no fireballs. This isn't forged in fire. After a few hours tempering in the oven, we're ready to do our final grinding. So I'm all done the grinding of this. Really happy with it. It came out really nice. Very well balanced. The middle section is nice and tight, meets up the same spots, nice and thin. So we're all done with the grinding. Next, let's move on to the handle and the spacer and all that stuff. So this is the guard that I'm going to be going with on this one. It's a little more stylized than I would normally use, but I think it's going to look cool for this knife. So this is going to have some bevels on it. It's going to be I'm going to be hot salting this, so it's going to be black, shiny black. Because of that, I'm going to be using mild steel. Where the spacer is in the front of the handle is going to be about 3/4 of an inch. So if you look from the guard top down, it's got to be 3/4 of an inch wide right at this point. Obviously, the quillions here don't need to be as thick, so this is going to taper from here down if you're looking at it from the top. So we're going to be taking this piece of mild steel, and I'm just going to be cutting it down on the mill. So I did some surface grinding and milling on this piece of steel, so I've got it down where the central part is the right thickness, and then the quillions are a little thinner. Put my pattern on it here, and now what I'm going to do is take out all of this material here. The way I'm going to do that is with actually an annular cutter to get that curve here and here, and then a different size for here and here, and then I'll be able to just cut the rest with a saw. So I wanted to show you guys the progress on the guard. Most of this I did off camera just because it was surface grinding and milling, and I ran into some problems fitting it up and had to do a bunch of manual things which involved some swearing and curse words. But I got through it. The last thing I want to do, you'll see right here, there's these little channels, and I'm going to do those on either side, and the way I'm going to do those is with a rotary table on the mill. This is a cute little rotary table that I bought. I love this one because it goes into, just sits inside of my vise, and I'm just going to clamp this on here, put this little thing in here to lock it in place. Then I'll just rotate this little channel in there on both sides and get it perfect. So there's the guard all profiled. I think it's going to look very cool against the blade, something like that. So I've done the little spacer, but when I put the spacer on, you can see I made the hole in the guard a little too big. So what I've done is just create another little spacer, and this one's out of actually 15 and 20, and I'm gonna I think I'll do some file work on this, shine it up, and this fits over top. And then now I actually have a template for how I'm going to profile the guard, so the bottom of the guard. So I think that'll work out. So you saw me turn the pommel on the lathe. The last piece for this is at the end I want a little silver ball or fixture. So the way I'm going to do that is I've tapped a 632 hole in the end of the pommel. I have a 632 bolt, And I'm going to actually cast this. I'll put it in this little mold. I have some pure silver here, and we're going to cast the silver over this and then turn this in the lathe, and we'll have something to screw in the end of our pommel. Well, it turns out this was way too much tool pressure on the lathe for a number 6, so it breaks. I end up redoing this with a number 10, and that works a lot better. So now I'm going to turn my attention to the guard. So I've drawn some layout lines. Now I'm going to bevel these because these are going to be kind of almost sharpened. So here's the guard after filing. Looks pretty cool. Happy with it. It's definitely slimmed down quite a bit. Did a bunch of grinding on this part as well. So now we got to move on to the handle. And we're going to flute the handle. And to do that, we're going to use my little fluting jig. We're just going to put a grid system on there so that we can get perfect spiraled flutes. Now that I'm done the fluting, I'm ready for the wire inlay. For that, we're going to be using some of this stainless steel wire. Going to be twisting it, and then we're going to put it in these channels. You'll see that I've drilled little holes and little channels on either side just to have it lay in there. It's actually really hard to do this and keep it in frame, so you'll see the final product at the end. Now I gotta hand sand and etch the blade. We're getting real close. Now the fittings are going into the blackening salts. We're pretty much done. This is the last step. You guys ready to see the final outcome?